Okay, here, great. If not, uh, we'll go from there. Well, welcome to AI assisted course design, and thank you for coming here in person, like one person to eat the cookies. So we have Gabriella, and you are Vala, okay, and from engineering, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'm pretty excited to do this session. It's supposed to be a hands-on session, so we can try to do it with your phone. Do you have like ChatGPT or any AI installed? Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna do is in person, I'm gonna try to airdrop the files to you so it's easier like to copy and paste. And for the folks online, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a sheet that you can kind of copy and update and paste into your thing. But before we do that, we're gonna do a quick introduction about what this is and the plan for today. So we're going to explore how AI can revolutionize the course design process. And then I'm going to demonstrate a step-by-step process with AI for you to do your course design. Now, a quick disclaimer, and particularly with sessions with AI, I have to say this. I didn't invent AI. It is not my fault. I'm not trying to push it because like I created it and I'm making money off of it. You know, some people tend to be like very against AI and they come to these sessions and I feel like, they put their grievances on me. I'm kind of like the messenger of how to properly use these or how to use these to your advantage, but it's not my fault that it exists. I'm not gonna make it stop. I'm not gonna make it from going forward. I'm just trying to make something out of it. And so this presentation is adapted from a presentation that I attended at the Teaching and Learning with AI conference in Orlando earlier this year. And I'm making my own edits to this, but don't, if you're upset with AI, it's not my fault. Don't don't blame it on me. uh so the definitions, right? So prompting, when we talk about this is something that we're going to be talking about a lot. It's basically how you interact with AI. Before, we used to talk to the computers with code, and now with this new version of generative AI, we can use basically language, regular language, to talk to them. So when we say we're going to create a prompt, is how we are going to be talking to these AI system, generative AI systems, to tell them to do what we want them to do for us. And now, chain prompting, this is an interesting one that some people might not have heard, but basically, it's an approach to content generation. So it's kind of iterating with the tool and, understanding that whenever you use the prompt, the output might not be perfect, but it is the iteration and the communication with it that is going to make it better and it's going to generate the content that we want, right? So these are like the official definitions. Now, there are some benefits, right? And we will break down the regular course design process and then it's iterative steps. And then we can streamline content generation with AI. So AI becomes a partner in your course design process. We're not saying that AI is going to be doing everything, but the course design process can happen a lot quicker because you have this assistant or buddy working with you. Now, one of the course design, there are many course design, I don't know, processes that you can use. One that we tend to push a lot because it's a kind of tried and true is called the backward course design process. And the reason why we try to push it because it's tried and true, because it really allows you to focus on the main goals that you want your students to get out of your class, and that is your North Star when you're thinking of everything else you're going to be doing for the course, all of the assessments or the course content that you're going to be utilizing. And so you start with the end, right? You identify the desired results. And those are the big ideas, big skills, the things that they're going to be doing at the end. Then you move to thinking of what the acceptable evidence is going to be. So figure out the assessment strategy. What are the things that the students will do to show to you they're meeting these goals, these identified results? And then you go to planning the learning experiences in the instruction. So everything is based on these results and go from there. Now, when you have AI, it's the same process, but we're going to be giving a little more context to AI because AI doesn't know a lot until you give context about the course that you're going to be working on. And then you're going to be giving specialized instructions in each step of the way. And then you're going to be continuously reviewing and modifying each step because AI by itself is not very helpful. It makes a lot of mistakes. You always have to rely on the human in the loop. That's kind of the expression, is the person that is interacting with the AI. So as a subject matter expert, you will know a lot about the courses that you're teaching, and you'll be able to kind of always iterate and modify to make sure that the AI is targeting to what you want. So you're using that chain prompting process. Now, the context, when I talk about giving context to the tool, this is what I mean, right? Thinking about the timing requirements for the course. So number of credits, number of instructional modules, direct instructional equivalencies. So like how much time students are going to be spending on things. The curriculum. So where is the course on the bigger picture of the curriculum? So all of the placement, basically, of the course, and what students must know and or do when they leave the course. So those are things we're going to specify from the get-go. And this is what AI kind of contributes to the mix, right? It will help you scaffold the content. So design the progression of the course and making sure that everything aligns. And you're going to create objectives. You can use AI to help you create objectives, and you're making sure that everything is aligning. And you're going to optimize assessment strategies. So there's different types of assessments that you can kind of input it into the system and help you kind of decide which ones to use. And ultimately, it can help you design a variety of learning activities to make sure that the students are able to showcase to you their learning. So we're going to go for the hands-on activity, and hopefully with me toggling between this big screen and the smaller screen, you'll be able to see everything and everything gonna work out perfectly, right? So I'm going to put here on the chat a document that is some prompts they're going to be using and some files. So I'm going to do 3 documents. Okay. And then I am going to airdrop that to you. So can you please make sure that you are able to receive things from people? So the prompt sheet, okay. So I'm going to share. Okay, airdrop. I see you, and you're receiving it. So let me do this. I'm going to minimize the screen and put my laptop here. Because I'm going to go into demo time. Oh, no, this is not it. You get out of the way. Get out of the way. Okay. Okay. So let's go into demo time. Okay, I have here 2 things, right? I have my ChatGPT open, and I have basically the prompts that I just gave you, but I put my information. So that's what I'm going to be using to kind of interact with ChatGPT. I'm using ChatGPT 4.0, which is the paid version of ChatGPT. You should be able to use it with the free version. You can use Perplexity, you can use Microsoft Copilot, any generative AI tool of your choice. Just know that the results of them are going to be different. And even if you put on ChatGPT in different chats that you start with it, the results are going to be different. So it's never going to be the same. So we will start by giving custom instructions, right? So I'm going to copy and paste my custom instructions into ChatGPT. So this is what I'm telling it. My name is Addie, one formal. It is Dr. Adeline Tolliver. I am a higher education professional and teach at Southern Methodist University Simmons School of Education. I'm an adjunct professor and the associate director of the Center for Teaching Excellence, CT. The area that I'm currently most interested in is the use of generative AI in higher education and teaching and learning. So this is basically that file that I gave to you with the prompt that you can go in and put your interests and your name and everything. And we're going to go through this. So if you want to follow along, you can. I know that you're on your mobile device, so it might be harder to do this. So, I mean, I think, Gabriella, you can kind of follow more easily just being on the computer. So I'm going to go through this, follow along, let me know what happens, right? So there you go. So let's see what the ChatGPT is going to do. So I already captured those details for you. So you're all set. If there's anything you'd like to add or just let me know. So excellent. So we're going to go and give a little bit of context for the bot. So I am going to paste that information. And here we go. Please feel free to call me Addie. I want detailed responses unless I tell you specifically to be brief. My communication style is formal, but it's stated casually. Well, I already pressed it, enter, so it started talking to me. It would be great to hear your opinion, but please provide the assumptions underpinning your opinions. Give your opinions at the beginning of the response and explain how your opinion influences the rest of the answer you provide. When you're responding to prompts about course building, keep in mind best practices from Quality Matters and University Design for Learning when examining syllabi and course content. So I'm thinking of Quality Matters, particularly if you think about online course design. Quality Matters has so many standards that show that are research-based standards on how to build a course. And because I would put this into Canvas or learning management system, it'll be nice to align with those. So by telling them, hey, look at Quality Matters, if something is off, it will tell me, or it will just create things based on those standards. It usually will have access to that information. Same thing for Universal Design for Learning. I want to make sure that my content is accessible for all students as much as possible. So it will also look into Universal Design for Learning and give me information having that in mind. Please do not use the word delve and stay away from delve into unless no other phrase fits. That's it's a funny thing. Sometimes it can just put delve into everything. So you can specify what to take out and what to put in. Please feel free to ask follow-up questions for clarification. After you have given me the answer in a semi-formal way, wrap her up in a line of separation and speak to me casually, sometimes throwing a snarky remark to be funny. This remark would be about the process or the subject, but directed to me, Addie. So sometimes you can add a little bit of humor and tell it to be funny to you. And it's kind of funny because it might give you jokes. So got it, Addie. I'll keep my responses detailed. I was being transparent and casually professional with a little wit here and there for you. Thanks for sharing all these preferences. They make it easier for us to work together smoothly. Okay, so I'm building my partnership with it. So now the next thing here on the right is I'm going to give it a prompt to create a good prompt. Okay. So this is funny because the more detail the prompts, the better the product. But I'm going to tell it to create it for me. Right. So I want to create, oh shoot, I should have not pressed the enter. Let's go on the right here. It's just a habit, right? Let's go into this highlighted stuff here. I want to create a 3-credit course with 14 modules called Introduction to Technology in Higher Education. Each module has a 3-hour synchronous in-person session, and each module must have 6 direct instructional equivalencies. This is an elective course that students take as a part of their master's degree in higher education. They need to know how technology is used in all aspects of higher education: security, research, teaching, learning, recruiting, etc. They need to learn the basics about the history of technology used in higher education. And the courses in the curriculum are legal issues in higher education. So I went to basically the department website and I saw all of the courses that are part of the master's degree and I put it here. So then I'm basically talking to it and it will look into whatever information it was fed to build its system and look at what is required for some courses like this in a master's degree in higher education. It knows what those courses entail. It sees other databases and what the requirements are for other courses. The most important part, however, is field work and how academics are integrated into hands-on practice. Please give me the best wording for this prompt. All I wanted you to do is in your answers to give me the best language for this prompt so that an AI bot would understand it well. So I'm talking to it and telling me, like, create the prompt for me. So let's see, let's read this in. Here's a refined version of your prompt to maximize clarity for AI. Create a 3-credit elective course titled Introduction to Higher Education for a master's program in higher education. Blah, blah, blah. Information, the same thing. The course aims to introduce students to varied applications of technology, including this and this and that. The course will provide an overview of historic evaluation technology. It aligns with other offering in education higher master's curriculum, which includes blah, 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 all that stuff that I found, and I give it to it. And distinguished features, the course is focused on field work. So there you go. This version is streamlined for clarity while ensuring all essential elements of the course structure and objectives are prominent. Highlights the practical academic components and states the course curriculum for a complete overview. Okay, so let's do that. Let's create this. Let's use this, okay? And I am going to use this overall objectives prompt in conjunction with this to create an outline for my course. So I'm going to copy this, paste. I am designing the course, Introduction to Technology in Higher Education. And from the following outline, I would like for you to come up with objectives for me. Please use Bloom's cognitive taxonomy to construct the objectives. Give me 3 to 5 overall course objectives and specific module objectives for each of the module created. So then I'm going to paste this information. There you go. Not bad, right? So overall course objectives. By the end of this course, students will be able to analyze the historical developments and trends in the application technology and higher education settings, evaluate the roles and impact of various technology in core areas of higher education, design technology-based strategies to address specific challenges in higher education administration and student services, integrate theoretical knowledge with hands-on practice, field work, assess ethical and policy considerations in the deployment of education technologies within higher education. So now look at the module objectives. It created as per my request, right? I had what, 14 modules, something like that. So for each of those modules, it created, basically it chunked for me, right? So if you think about the backward design process, it already chunked all of the different weeks and the topics that I'm going to be covering and created objectives for me. I can even tell it, right, to create a table that will show to me that line, and we'll ask it in a second, because it can create a table that will show to me how the overall objectives align with these module objectives, they align with the assessment strategy. So if you remember the backward design process, we had desired results at the beginning, and then we're going to be thinking how we're going to be assessing the students. So let's create an assessment, right? For this course, I need an assessment strategy that blends a good mix of formative assessments and a few summative ones based on the objectives and outline I provided you. Drafts an assessment strategy for me with some activities. I'm also uploading a basic HIA tool template file and interactive techniques file for you. In the time for instruction activities sheet, you will find some examples of activities to assess my students' learning. Pick from that list, make sure they align with the overall course objectives. So this basic HIE tool template comes from, let me see here. It's from here. So Penn State has this hours of instructional activity equivalencies, right? And it basically provides you with some activities that show here, like discussion activities, 1 to 3 hours per activity. And it tells you possible activities that you create and how much time it will take to do each of them. So that's what this is. This is what that spreadsheet has. Time for instructional activities. See, chat rooms for class, conference, discussions, group projects, guided projects. So this is what I'm going to be uploading into the system. And this is what I'm going to be telling the ChatGPT to create some activities. So I'm going to upload from computer. And I'm also going to be uploading the interactive techniques. We're not going to use the interactive techniques right now, but the interactive techniques show some face-to-face interactive activities that you can do with your students. So it will remember that information within this chat and we'll be able to use it later. But let's go here and see what it's going to come up with. Look at this stuff. It's already giving me activities based on a spreadsheet, right? It's not perfect. It's not perfect, right? You still need the human in the loop. You still need to iterate with it. You still need to interact with it. But normally, if you're starting a course from scratch, this will take a long, long time to do, okay? So by including AI as part of the process, some of these ideas might not be useful at all, but some of them might be like, well, I never thought about doing this. So you might include that into your course design process and you might use it and see how it goes. So it just gives you, all of these activities. And you can even say to it, like, look at this. Can you please create a table and align those activities? Okay. Oh, let's see. Hope this mix keeps students on their toes without turning them into zombies. Keep assessments engaging might just mean they'll remember more than just app names. So has a little joke, even give me a little wink. So funny, okay? So there you go. Create a table and align those objectives with your objectives and the module objectives. So let's see. Look at that. It's giving me alignment. I am running through this workshop like this, right? I am not double checking if this information is right. But you see how quickly it's producing this. Technically, by the end of this session, if I continue doing, I could do that like for several modules. And I could have pretty much most of a course designed from scratch using AI. But we need to review it. Like this is a great partner to make sure that things are aligned. It can process information a lot quicker than we have. But look at this, like it's just aligning everything, right? Of course, we need to review it and make sure that's right, but it's doing a lot of the blunt work for us. So here we go. Each row connects an activity to a course-wide and module-specific objectives, ensuring that assessments not only reinforce knowledge, but also facilitate practical application and self-reflection throughout the course. So now we're going to build the actual course. Moving forward, think about your words going directly to the students as this is going to be pasted in the course shell. As we develop each of the modules, I want you to parallel process, keeping in mind the objectives of the course, the alignment of the objectives for each module. Be sure to scaffold the material so students can keep up, even though there's a lot of work. In each module, give me an introduction for the module, objectives for the module, and which of the course objectives it aligned with. Create a seminar outline with suggestions of the interactive techniques from the file uploaded earlier, discussion questions, and one activity. Give a variety of assignments during the course, the discussion question course students to discuss with one another. Let them know they can record a discussion in small groups instead of writing if they choose. Recorded discussion has to be at least, this all stuff that you can customize in that sheet that I gave you. Like some of the stuff you can take it out, some of the stuff update with your information, what do you think it's helpful? And then we're going to tell it. Let's start with module 1. Let's see what it does. So basically, it's going to utilize that information that we've already put in there. It's getting that other file, and it's going to start creating that module. It's a lot of information there, a lot of things to process. So here's my introduction to technology in higher education. Welcome to our first module. We'll begin by establishing a foundation understanding of educational technology in higher education. We'll define key terms, explore the scope and purpose of technology in higher education, discuss why technology literacy is essential for professionals in the field. Look at that. This is aligned. Identify and define key concepts, and it aligns with course objective number 1. Describe the purpose and aligns everything, all that alignment. Seminar outline, right? So this is for a 3-hour in-person session. Background knowledge, 10 minutes. Lecture segment, interactive discussion. Think break and think pair share, 30 minutes. It's looking at that sheet that I put in with the face-to-face activities, finding information that's relevant, pairing and putting here. Case study review activity. Now, we need to verify, because particularly for the case study review, right? Like, it's not putting in a particular case study, but it might lie to you, it might hallucinate and invent a case study to put there. You know, this one was actually pretty good with this output. I practiced before and like, you know, hallucinated before. That's what I'm saying. For this, is just telling me you're going to do a case study. So I'll find the case study to discuss in class, right? But then you have an activity, concept mapping, having a wrap up and a reflection. We have a discussion with questions based on this. In your view, what is the most significant purpose of technology in higher education? Like, they're not half bad. They're not half bad, okay? And then we have an activity, a focused listing. Create a list of the purposes of these technology serves in higher education. And then at the end, we do have that connection from the conclusion of the module in the next module preview. So as I'm putting together this in the learning management system, it looks personal, you know, it looks decent. This saves me a lot of time. I already have a full module for a course here, and it's not half bad. Of course, I need to tweak it, but this is a pretty good start. And then let's see what it says. Setup introduces students to key ideas in a manageable, engaging way, start setting a solid foundation for deep exploration. In subsequent modules, let me know if you'd like to further tweaks or specific adjustments. So that's where the iteration starts, right? Like the back and forth with it is going to help me tweak this. But I mean, the course is pretty much done because I can do the same thing for module 2, 3, 4, all the way up to module 14. And in fact, whenever I go into the activities, when I think about the assessment strategy that I created, if I go in there, I can ask for it to create instructions for this gallery wall, right? So I can put in instructions, create instructions for this gallery wall activity, put it in a way that it's easy for the students to understand, create a rubric for evaluation. It can do all of that. So it can be more and more granular based on your course. So you can build the whole thing with this in mind. If you keep it on the same chat, it will remember all the information that you put in here. You can always get the same prompt and go into a different chat. So I could go into Perplexity or something and start doing in Perplexity and see what it says, because the output is going to be completely different. It might be better. So you kind of have both going and see which ones match your needs better. So with that, I'll give you a little bit of time to play around. Gabriella, if you are already playing around on your end, because you're in front of the computer, so it's easy to copy and paste, let me know a little bit of what it produces, and I'll give you a little bit of time to kind of play around with it and change some of this. And let me know if you have any questions. Yes.
Addie, I have
let me give you
a question, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Gabriella. You start because you have the microphone. I'll give Vala the microphone and then you go ahead.
Maybe this is irrelevant, but what is the green G button, the one that says get citation? Is that a ChatGPT thing?
No, that is Grammarly. So I have Grammarly installed on my computer. So
Okay.
Grammarly is a tool that verifies for grammatical issues, but also there's an AI component to it. So everything that I type, usually the Grammarly also is running on the background.
Okay, so it's not the case that, I mean, clearly it's not, but so I guess what I'm trying to ask is, so at this point in time, ChatGPT is still not providing references like Perplexity where it found the information.
No, not as explicitly as Perplexity does.
Okay.
And that's why, oftentimes I do like Perplexity, and I like kind of running it through Perplexity too. But no, it does not. I can say, let me know some of your sources. In fact, the prompt in the beginning kind of tells them a little bit, like, let me know what your, here, I think it says, please feel free to ask me any questions. No, I think it's here. I asked to, please provide the assumptions underpinning your opinions. So sometimes if it decides to provide me with the assumptions underpinning its opinions, it might give me a little bit, and I've requested it, so it should be, attached to its memory, but not as explicitly as Perplexity does.
Got it. Thank you.
Your question?
On.
Should be. Hopefully.
So, I have two or three questions, I guess.
Mhm.
First, you just design it for only module one.
Yes.
So once you go for like 2, 3, 4 till 14, like the more you have the module, the more lazy becomes. Like, it gives like, little information. It's not that accurate.
Mhm.
I think it's hard to chat GPT to memorize everything. Like its error in like I don't know, maybe in module 10, 11 or something is like much more than like module 1.
Yeah.
So what can you do about it? Like every time you need to remember the every details, every instruction you gave it, or just go to the new chat and do the same thing at like the beginning start.
So as the human in the loop is up to you to figure out, is the content up to my standards or not? So if it is not up to your standards, you can start a new chat and say, just get the data that is important for you and start a new chat and say, create a module with that information. So if you feel that it's not, using the data that you've supplied with earlier, um, I would not create something like this from scratch and use it immediately from here and just literally copy and paste, right? Like this is always the starting point of what I'm going to do. I would probably just get this information and double check, or, I've taught this class before. So that's why I picked this particular topic. So I would know like what I'm trying to cover and see if it makes sense or not. But this, for how quickly it puts a draft for you, it's worth using and playing around with, in my opinion, right? It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to come out with a full course that I'm going to be using like from here. That's not the advice that I'm giving, but definitely it will help you in your course design process and make things a lot more expeditious.
Because I know like once I was trying to read like papers, once it's like too many papers that I cannot deal with all of
Yeah,
them.
right.
I
It's
just
all
copy paste the introduction part, and I asked to give me some like bullet points of it.
yeah.
So the more paper I uploaded and like more introduction, the bullet points are more irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Yeah, you need to know the information yourself, right? Because if you don't know the information yourself, you don't know how the quality, you're not able to evaluate the quality of the product. I think that this provides you with food for thought, because if you're going to be teaching a course, the assumption is that you're a subject matter expert, right? So you will be doing this from scratch anyways, but if this might give you some food for thought, it's like, oh, I never thought about covering this. Or like, oh, that's actually a good idea. I'm gonna add this to the mix. For me, like I've taught this course before. So I would look at like what have I done before in the course, and does it make sense to add some of these things? Or I can even put the outline that I've created before and put it into the system and say, is this a good outline? Make it better. If you have, one of the things that also helpful, some particular programs like, you know, counseling, sometimes like you have like a social work, whatever they have, or competencies that come from their accreditors. And they do have to create courses that align with such competencies that, from their accreditors. And it's a good thing to use AI to kind of make sure that things are aligned, because you can say, review whatever the competency is for this, and making sure that my activities align with those competencies. And give me suggestions if they don't give me suggestions on how to improve this. And sometimes it does a pretty decent job. Whereas if you're just going, like, you're going to have to be like thinking for, a long, long time. So, Gabriella, did you have a chance to kind of do some updating onto your prompt sheet and then pasting it to the system and seeing kind of what the tool comes up with?
I am a little slow, but I'm working on it. So I'm about to integrate the one that kind of prepares the bot to work for it, and then I'm supposed to go to the step where it's going to take that and ask them to create an actual course outline for me. So I'll lay
Excellent.
what's going on.
So far, what are you seeing with your results?
So far, I'm a little underwhelmed.
Okay.
Not as fancy as, or it's not giving me an answer as fancy as what it was giving you. But I was just saying I want a 3-credit course with 14 modules called Animal Communication, and it just in different words repeated what I gave it. So it said, you know, these are the objectives, understanding the similarities and differences between animal and human communication, identifying the unique aspects of each form of communication, and learning the core properties of human language. So that's one short paragraph, and it's just restating what I said. But when I combined, I'm curious to see what happens when I combine that with the next prompt from your sheet.
Well, you can tell it like that's not a good enough for me. It's like I don't like that. It seems too simple. Can you elaborate on it? So treat it as a novice TA that started, or a novice assistant that just started working for you, right? Like you need to kind of coach it to give you the answers that you want. So that's one of that iteration part is really helpful. Tell us like that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking at a little more detail. I look at, look at the data from this and this and that, like just kind of add to what it should be like looking for, and because it connects to the internet now, so you can kind of use that information. Or if you have other resources in your computer or examples, you can give it an example, you know. And you don't have to use ChatGPT, right? Like if you go to a different tool, it might give you a better um, example that you can also bring back into ChatGPT, right? You can toggle between different tools depending on the product that it puts out. Does that make sense? You don't have
Yeah,
to be
it does
stuck
make
into
sense
this
because
one chat.
this, whatever I read to you a second ago was actually already the second version. I told it that I wasn't happy with it, but I just said, can you give me another version? But now I understand, I guess, the importance of engineering, you know, the adequate prompt, because when I said what you said, which is, this is too simple, can you elaborate? Now I have, you know, a decent
Yeah.
course outline, you know, a nice, solid, elaborate section on learning objectives. This is now totally different.
You know, it's interesting too. If you're polite to it, a lot of the times it provides better results. Sometimes you can tell it at the end of the sentence, take your time. And it will, when you tell it to take its time, it might give you a better product. You might say before you can break it down into steps. Like before you provide the outline, create a bulleted point process, create a bulleted point outline of what you are, thinking of adding to it. So that two-step process of it developing a bulleted outline to then creating what you're asking for, it allows you to create a better product. So it's that whole like chain prompting is iterating, and talking to it and telling it that's not what I'm looking for. I want something else. And then it starts kind of vibing with you and giving you what you want, or closer to what you want, which ultimately you can then pick out and then put your touches and make it more yours. But it is a collaborative effort of you and the tool working together to get to the goals. So it saves a lot of time, and particularly I found that it gives me a lot of ideas that I haven't thought of before. Because even with the activities, let me pull you the that document that has the activities. Okay, let's do this one here. It has this course design. See, interactive techniques. So this is that other document that I uploaded there, right? Techniques have multiple benefits. The instructor can quickly assess students have mastered the material or not. So look at how many strategies it put in there. These are all strategies that you can use in a face-to-face class to have interaction with your students, right? And it looks into that information. It picked up a couple of them to create that face-to-face session. It added a couple of these strategies into my lecture. So it would have taken me a while because I would have to have reviewed this whole document and figure out which one would make sense for that particular topic. Sometimes just getting the tool to match it for me saves me a little bit of time. The thing about teaching is that it is a craft, right? Sometimes something that you try works, sometimes it doesn't work. So my personal particular view on things is that sometimes it's worth trying out a suggestion like that. If it bombs in the classroom, of course, I'm not going to do it again, right? But it's one of the things that, as part of my journaling as I'm teaching, I'll take notes that that did not work. Or if I see, well, maybe it's not appropriate, I can tell you from the, immediately based on the topic, and I can see its suggestions like, well, it's not going to work. I can go in here and find something else. Right. So you can approach it in several different ways, but sometimes tinkering and trying things can be helpful. And sometimes if it works, then you continue doing it. And if it doesn't work, you scratch it. But this saves time and it gives you a companion in the course design process that, you can have at your fingertips in your phone, in your computer. Now, as the CT can also be your companion, right? Like a part of my job is to serve as a consultant. So if you are designing your course, I can do something similar, partner with you and look at your objectives and help you figure out activities. That's like, if you want like a human, we're here too. And it could be a combination of both. So all this to say is that this saves time. It can be a different way to look at your creative process on designing a course. So, and sometimes the product sucks, but the more you talk to it, it makes it decent enough that you can use it and try it out. Sure.
So, like, let's say you have your, I don't know, assessment strategy and
Yeah.
you're not happy with it.
Yeah.
And you wanted to revise it, like, based on your standards and
Yeah.
everything. Once you just ask it to do something, and you did, and then you wanted another thing and another thing, and once you have like multiple revisions, first you are confused because you cannot memorize everything that you changed. Oh, I like this part, I like that part.
Yeah.
Like maybe ChatGPT can keep the track of it, but you as a human cannot. Most of the
True.
time.
Yeah, for sure.
Then you are get confused that how to tell that what was the like the final and the best version for me about all of the revisions.
Yeah.
And then once it's just apply those things and go to another modules to like try to keep track of your revisions, not the like the basic ones.
So sometimes you can say to it, like once you come to a version that you really like, you can tell it, it's like, hey, I like these objectives how they are now. Please ignore all the previous versions of objectives. As we move forward into module design process, make sure to align the overall course objectives to these objectives. So it will, then the memory will update. The other thing is like you can go in and get the suggestions, you can maybe work on the objectives in a different chat and then keep it in a Word document. And then when you finally like narrow it down, like these are the objectives that I want to use for my course, these are the objectives that I want to do for all the individual modules, you have that in a separate document and you can name it like the final course objectives or the course objectives that I will use, and you can upload that document. From now on, just use this document to as the reference for what the course objectives are. So you don't even have to copy and paste them there, but you upload the document, and that once you tell it's like just only use this document, it should. I'm not gonna guarantee it because I'm not the engineer behind these tools, but it is my understanding from what I understand that these tools can do. Whenever you put in that and you clarify that from now on you're using that document, it should just prioritize that command.
Yeah, because like what I was doing most of the times once I have like multiple revisions. So like the final revision that I have, then I go to like my first revision, edit the question and ask him again to, result based on the like final revisions.
Yeah.
But in that way, like things are messed. Like, it memorize something, but I just, delete that part.
Yeah.
So I was never think of like, asking that, like typing as a command to forget about that part and go
Yeah.
for the next part.
I mean, and the other thing is you can go in and start a new chat, right? If you really want a full clean slate, you can start a new chat. And then knowing the prompts, if you feel like you have developed a decent prompt, you keep a prompt document, right? That you can just keep in, you just put in start the new chat, use the new objectives, and then go in and with the prompts that you already had. But then it's kind of, more targeted and more, as you said, fresh, right? Any other questions, comments, concerns? And no, I'm not going to be able to stop AI. No, I don't know how it works. I can fix it if it doesn't produce like. Well, thanks for coming.